I talk about all things documentary, video essays, pop culture, or anything that's trendy, anything that catches my interest. So if it's something you're interested in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you're always notified when I post new videos. Let's head right into the video. Why are people canceling their friends over politics? It has now become a trend that is very common amongst Gen Z. People don't just vote for parties anymore. People now wear them like personality badges. So when someone's views clashes with yours, it's not just about their opinions anymore. It has now become a personal betrayal to most people, with some people blaming their friends for having such views. It's now about them being wrong and them not having the right kind of morality. Where does it end, guys? And the worst part is social media is not helping any of this. Social media feeds us what we need to believe, and that is confusing to some people when another person has an opposing view to what social media tells you. It feels extreme and it feels dangerous. It's like you're getting into uncharted territory because this is something you're very unfamiliar with, and that in itself is a problem. It's not just about opinions anymore. It's now about people's identity, and this is changing friendships forever. I guess the question isn't about why people are changing friendships. The question is, can you still be friends without agreeing on something? That is the question we all need to ask ourselves. I did some research as to why this phenomenon keeps occurring, especially in this modern era. And here's what I discovered. I discovered that people cancel friendships for 5 different reasons. I'm going to show you this graph right here. Let's go over each point one after the other. The first one being social identity theory. This theory backs that people's political views determines who they are, and this can be a threat, especially when people don't have the same opinions as you do. This theory supports the reason why people, even in friendships, want to feel like they are a part of something, and this can cause the in-group and out-group syndrome. This is when people aren't really feeling like they actually belong, or this is when certain opinions or political views of people within your friend circle makes you feel like you aren't a part of something bigger. Although I personally feel like this could be as a result of how rapidly a person's opinion on certain things can easily change. There are so many views on things and so many bills being passed every single day, and this could result in someone not having a definite viewpoint on something, and this could also lead to a person having to change from one political view to another. This could make a person in a friendship feel as though a person is disloyal even to their viewpoint, and therefore causing people within friend circles to feel as though their disloyalty could also translate into their friendships. So let's move on to the second point regarding this. This is what I would like to call affective polarization. This is when a person doesn't just disagree with you, but their disagreement can cause them to not be able to stand you. So this is like when your differing opinions on certain views can cause someone to feel a strong sense of emotion towards you, like in abortion, in DV, and in immigration laws that are being passed. People now feel morally repulsed by a person's political viewpoint, and some people even go as far as seeing their friends as dangerous or evil. The results of this behavior could lead to a person cutting ties with their long-term friendship because of emotional safety. You can only blame the person who feels this way. Let's move on to the third theory. I guess the whole idea behind this theory is to support the idea of what is morally right or wrong, even in politics. Some people are of the opinion that a person needs to have a stance on what is right and what is wrong. But let me tell you guys, from personal experience, the whole idea of what is right and what is wrong is super blurred right now, because everyone has their own moral compass, and people make opinions or have opinions based on this moral compass. To a person could feel like this is right, and to another, a person could feel like this is wrong. So where do you draw the line on what is morally right and what is morally wrong? So let's move on to the fourth point: digital tribalism. This theory supports what we learn from social media. Digital tribalism supports the idea that algorithms show us what to believe, thereby causing some people to feel highly opinionated about certain viewpoints. Some people are actually on the offensive side because that is what the media wants them to believe, and that is what they think is true. A lot of things that we think are actually factual, some of them are a myth. Some of them do not exist in real life. And social media does encourage rage bait amongst people. The social media space right now is a very toxic space to be at. And let me tell you, it is literally the worst place to have an opinion on political views. Like, if you wanted to have opinions on political views, best bet would be to follow politics through the news or watch the news directly from where these decisions are being made. This phenomenon can result in people feeling highly irrational and also leads to extreme outrage amongst friendships. So let's move on to the last and final point, and that is digital culture. You could also categorize this in the social cultural space. So what does this mean, and how does this affect people changing friendships over politics? So the cancel culture is a very rampant ideology pushed down to us through influencers and social media. Influencers are a huge part of our social culture right now, and a lot of these influencers are promoting unhealthy cultural behaviors through social media to other people. And how does this affect people's friendship? I'll tell you how. Social rejections has now become normalized. People are now getting cancelled for just having an opinion. I'm not talking about political viewpoints right now. I'm just talking about general opinions, whether it be with brands, with companies, with other influencers. People are now getting cancelled. A lot of these friendships actually break up because some people feel entitled to their friends standing up when they mess up. There are so many influencers that go on social media and talk about many different unrealistic viewpoints and expect their friends to stand up for them, and just because their friends refuse to do this or engage in such kind of rage bait, they cancel out their friendships for this. Many of these influencers forget that they are responsible for the consequences of their own action. Some people even go as far as telling their friends words like, if you can't support me, we can't be friends anymore. If you can't post this, we can't be friends anymore. Just because your friend doesn't want to be an influencer just like you, that is not enough reason for you to cancel out your friends. And not to talk of political viewpoints. Just because your friend prefers to talk about her political viewpoints outside of social media, that is not enough reason to cancel out your friend. I'm gonna bring a very, very popular example and quite a trendy one that's happening right now with the illegal immigrants getting deported from the United States. I've seen a lot of videos of people demanding that their friend make a social media post regarding this, and that is so controlling and manipulative. So if you have a friend who is literally one of these kinds of people, then I would honestly say that it is okay to cut such friends off. Because if a friend is expecting so much from you when you have little to no interest in a particular thing and forcing you to do that in order to prove your friendship, then you guys were never friends to begin with. This is the theory that supports this phenomenon. Let's watch some of these videos.
If a friend of yours is willing to cut you off over politics without even first trying to understand where you're coming from, that person was never your friend in the first place. They never liked you for you. They liked you for who they wanted you to be. The stakes are so low in this situation. They have so little to lose by trying to engage with you and actually trying to understand where you're coming from. So if they're willing to cut you off over this, just think of how disloyal they would be in a situation where they would actually have to make a material sacrifice to stand up for you. They wouldn't. So basically, anybody you lose by being open about your politics is someone who wasn't meant for you in the first place. Those types of people are liabilities, not assets. Ultimately, you will probably lose people, but those people are not compatible with you living a life that is true to yourself and your values. The people who are meant to stay will stay, and the people who are meant to leave will leave, and you will probably lose people. But one of my favorite quotes is that there is no price too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself.
I think the most basic thing you could do for your friend is just try to understand their viewpoint. There are some things that are not worth ruining your friendship for, except it is that deep. And you guys, let me know in the comment section what kind of things you would be willing to let go of your friendships for. What kind of opinions would be so deep that you're willing to let go of your friendships? I would really like to know, because I think in friendships there's a certain level of understanding that you have with your friend, that certain opinions or political viewpoints, all political viewpoints would matter less, because in the end it's not about these people's opinions or viewpoints. In the end, you would have to see your friend as a person whose ideologies are shaped by her experiences or whatever she has been taught to understand about life. And that is something you cannot change in one day, and you definitely cannot change that by having an argument over it. That would only make your friend feel triggered and make her feel less understood, and that is the beginning of many friendship disappearing. Let's watch some more videos.
I hate to break it to you guys, but anyone who talks about politics all the time is a loser. I'm not saying politics isn't important, right? Politics is very important. But anybody who talks about it more than they talk about anything else, if you're not getting paid to do so, if it's not part of your career, you're a loser. Oh my God, did you see what Trump did? Oh my God, Sleepy Joe's at it again. Get a job, bro. Give it up. The reason people do this is because they don't have any meaning in their life. They don't have any sense of purpose. And by talking about some bigger issue, they feel like that makes them important. And I'm a big proponent of whatever gets you up in the morning. I'm not really religious, but I understand why people follow religion, even though they pretty much all talk about the same thing, at least 99% of it. Religion gives you a sense of purpose, right? And that's important. But politics as your sense of purpose, go find something else. And the reason that politics is the worst thing to focus on 24/7 is you are asking to always be upset. It doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left or the middle. If all you do is talk about and focus on politics, you are asking to be depressed. And this is the funniest part. One more thing. There's nothing you can do about it. What's going to happen is going to happen. You worrying about it all the time isn't going to change anything. It's just going to make you upset. Get a job, go outside, then get some sun.
Just being involved in politics could just make you upset. I think it's way more than that. I think being so deeply involved in politics does not allow you to think freely. It's almost as if you're allowing yourself to be controlled by something you cannot directly change. The thing that I have noticed with politics is that you won't even be there when they make these decisions. This is something they would do behind closed doors and then announce it to the world, and then everyone will have a debate and go back to having differing viewpoints again, and the circle goes round and round again. It's an unending circle of arguments. It's an unending circle of people hating on each other. It never ends. It never ends. Think about it. The political viewpoints that ends up getting implemented are the ones where a lot of people would have to do a lot of talking and a lot of rioting and a lot of protest against. And even that too is not an easy one to implement. It's a long process before these guys even decide to listen to you. So you'd have to go through painful lengths in order to have these laws being implemented for your own good. That is something you should think about for a second. I mean, just take your time to think about this. Let it digest for a second. The slavery laws, before these got abolished, it took years of protests, years of a lot of Africans being violated and stripped of their rights before these people even decided to listen to us. I'm gonna play this video for you guys. By watching this video, you would have an idea of how long it actually takes for some of these laws, political opinions, political viewpoints to be accepted or even implemented.
This might be the greatest picture ever taken, but most people don't know the story behind it, so let me tell you. The year was 1968, a horrible year for the United States of America, especially for its civil rights movement. 6 months earlier, Martin Luther King had been shot dead, and just a couple of months later, Robert Kennedy was also assassinated, just like his brother 5 years earlier, and even Malcolm X had been killed. So when the Olympics in Mexico City started in October 1968, the atmosphere was far from good. And when Tommy Smith and John Carlos won gold and bronze in the 200-meter sprint, they felt like they had nothing to celebrate. In their frustration, despair, and hopelessness over the injustices their people faced in society, Smith and Carlos raised their fists to the sky in the face of racial injustice and oppression. And I probably don't need to explain the risks of making that gesture in the 1960s, a time when the world was very different. But the most incredible part of this story was the man standing next to them, the Australian Peter Norman, who had won the silver medal. Because when Smith and Carlos told him they were planning to do the gesture, Peter Norman said that he wanted to stand by their side. It was even Peter Norman's idea that Smith and Carlos share the black gloves used in their salute. However, the consequences of the three men's actions were severe. They were banned for life from the Olympics, forbidden to ever associate with the games again, and received countless of death threats. Everything they had worked their entire lives for was taken away. And sadly for Peter Norman, he would pay the ultimate price. Many Australians criticized him for embarrassing the country by supporting a political protest, and he was never officially honored during his lifetime for his athletic achievements. The rejection and isolation by his own country would eventually lead Peter Norman into years of depression. And in 1985, he would injure himself during a charity race, which nearly led to his leg being amputated, which led to heavy drinking and painkiller addiction. Peter Norman's friends and family said he always struggled with a deep sense of hurt over being abandoned by his own country. But from that complete darkness, a lifelong friendship also emerged between those three men. Because through it all, they would always have each other. Until 2006, when Peter Norman passed away, 64 years old. Tommy Smith and John Carlos carried his casket. And this month, John Carlos turned 80 years old. The day after, Tommy Smith turned 81, and just a week later, Peter Norman would have turned 83. A beautiful coincidence, if you ask me. This picture may be 60 years old, but its message is ironically more important than it's ever been today.
Do you guys notice that it took 60 years for these guys to be recognized? These guys were abandoned for the Olympics for having political viewpoints. Do you guys see the whole thing I'm trying to say? But in the end, what lasted longer was not their political viewpoints, but their friendships. Their friendship actually lasted, and having differing political viewpoints led to them having deeper friendships in the long run. Peter, although Peter had a rough time because he had to stand by these two black guys in 1968, none of that stopped them from having a beautiful lifelong friendship. Although these guys lost everything, they still had each other. They still had each other's backs. And as you can see in that video, these two black guys were the ones carrying his coffin. I'm sure these guys must have been deeply hurt by how things played, especially with Peter, because Peter really took a hard fall. He couldn't fathom how having a political standpoint could lead to him being completely abandoned by his country. Like, these guys didn't even think of suspending him. He didn't lift a finger. He just stood there, and that stance kind of showed people that he was at least supporting these two black guys. But that alone cost him everything. Now, in Peter's defense, I would like to state a few things. One, that by Peter standing there, he was just showing support for his friends. But that doesn't mean that showing support to his friend's political viewpoint meant that he was abandoning his own viewpoints on certain things. At that time, even the Australians weren't fully in support of black rights and black lives. These people were not part of the Black Lives Movement, and that was something that Peter understood, because he had two black guys as his friends and his teammates who he understood very deeply. By him standing next to these two black guys, that didn't mean that he was against the viewpoints that he shared with his fellow Australians, but I guess this is why the affective polarization is a phenomenon that explains these in detail. It is when someone having an opinion on something makes you dislike them completely. This is when you don't just disagree, but you dislike someone and you can't even stand them. That is why I say some of these theories are actually very true and relatable to what we see these days. I doubt I am able to explain this as much as I would like to, but I hope that you get the point. The same things that happened in 1968 is happening again, just in a different way. There are so many political viewpoints nowadays when it comes to gay rights, black lives. There are some people who would cut off their friends just because they made friends with a gay person. And that doesn't make you human, because even a gay person is also a human being. That person has emotions, that person has feelings. There are some people who feel so strongly about abortion, and these people who are strongly opinionated on abortion rights, these people also believe that even babies with disabilities also should not be aborted. And that is very unfair to some mothers, because many mothers are not ready to carry on the responsibilities of taking care of a child with a disability. It's okay if you can, but not everyone is cut out for that job. And some people just prefer that it's easier for them and their life moving forward to get rid of the baby and try again for another. So are you going to keep blaming these people for having varying opinions based on how they choose to live their lives? These people are the same people who would have strong opinions on mothers leaving these kinds of kids in foster care and not being able to take care of this kid. They would still have something to say about that. We have to have a little bit of empathy. Like sometimes when I hear people's political viewpoints, I just take a moment to think about why this person would have these viewpoints. Like, what could be the reason? I legit take a moment to ask myself questions like this, because you never know what's making a person come up with these ideas. You never know why that person is speaking in that way. There are also people who would argue with you that illegal immigrants should not be treated the way that Trump has been treating these immigrants. And yeah, there are also people who would come out and tell you that these people are here in America illegally, so therefore they should be treated in that way. But personally, I would say that it is okay for everyone to have these different opinions. What I don't agree with in all of this, for example, when it comes to the immigration laws right now, what I don't agree with is treating these people, even though you know you're going to deport these people, treating them like animals, not giving them their basic human rights to eating good, proper, basic meals in these camps or concentration centers, separating a mother from her own child. That is what I would consider inhuman. That is what I would at least draw a line on. But if you have a friend who is airing out her own opinions very strongly with no empathy at all, some people would even go as far as being so negative and saying that these people deserve to be treated this way, these people deserve to die. That is so bad. Like, that is where I draw the line. That in these kinds of instances, that is where I would easily break away from any friendship. Because if a person thinks that way about another human being, then you as a friend is no different. They would also treat you the same exact way. You shouldn't even expect to be treated any different. When the time comes for these people to stand up for you, they're never gonna be there. So the truth is, I genuinely feel like people having this political viewpoint, it's not supposed to be used as a weapon against humanity, but instead having these differing opinions in our political views should be used as a tool to unite us together. Having these political viewpoints is supposed to help strengthen our unity and help us to collectively solve problems together. This is how I feel like countries grow, countries improve, and also many of these countries that are also having issues and disparities within their systems are countries that encourage polarization with political viewpoints. That's my take on this. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are regarding this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you stayed true to the end, I'm super thankful and grateful. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. As always, share this video to your friends and family. Remember to keep it respectful down in the comment section. That's about it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.